right, good evening, everybody. Um, I'm not sure if I've been Googled or if I'm still just technically illiterate, but I'm still having issues getting a chat started. So I'm gonna let this run a minute and see if I can see where it translates over. I tried starting one and it wasn't working right, and so I've restarted another one, which seems to be kind of working right. Um, so let's see what happens here. Okay, looks like I'm on where I wanted to be. Okay, good. Um, all right, Jay Watt, I got you there. We'll give it a minute to let some people catch on. I'll do a preamble, then I'll send some invites out. It's going to be a real targeted conversation, obviously, by the subject, but I guess I've been out of the mix a lot lately, so got to talk about something. But the title there, "Letting America Fail," that came from a post I made on G Plus last week or almost 2 weeks ago, maybe. Question was what you see in the description box. At what point is it more patriotic to let your country fail than to continue supporting its failure? I mean, it's a nuanced question. It's not supposed to be a cut and dry. I mean, it's supposed to make you think. I don't want you to think that I'm. I guess it's a trick question in a lot of ways. So don't. I mean, I guess yell at me because it's in that in that fashion, but that's it's designed to be that way. Um, but before I get into really what that means, I mean, I'm going to just throw it out there. We have the caucuses coming up here in Nevada. Obviously, we're still in the political process, and I plan to be a part of that tomorrow. I'm at least going to attend, even though any candidate or ideas I support aren't going to be represented, except for me and anybody else that shows up to put those out there, and that's why I'm going. Um, to maybe voice those or become a delegate to the county convention, et cetera. Kind of the way it works, becoming a delegate and moving your way up. Because I want to interact with my fellow Nevadans, my neighbors, people in the community. I met a lot of good people last time that had common interests, and I just ain't going to throw that away. I'm not too hopeful on getting things accomplished at a higher level, but here locally is what I'm focused on, and that's why I'm still participating. Excuse me. So, kind of going back to the question of letting America fail and being patriotic, and 420 had a good answer to kind of the question. It's yeah, let me send a couple invites out here. It's what does it mean to be America? What does America mean? And my perspective and what brought this about is America has already failed. The republic's dead. We've said that over and over. So when do we just remove ourselves from the problem? And how do we do that? That's really the hard part, I think, is how I think most of us would, in large degree, if we could. It's between taxation. Taxation is the biggest thing they got you in. Now they got you in healthcare because of taxation, and it's like escaping the matrix. I mean, how do you go GALT? How do you remove your consent? I mean, obviously you can't vote, but that's just really being silent. If you just don't vote, that's just being silent on the matter, in my opinion. And again, like I was saying about going to the caucuses here, I see that as something local. I don't see that as a bigger, broader overhead thing. Granted, it's for the presidency, but there's a lot of things going on around it. That's just a small piece of what goes on in the caucus. Um, but if I remove my consent from that as well and just don't show up to that, um, you know, it's going to continue going on the way it's going, right? Um, but if we know that America is failing, has failed, will fail, I mean, who really has hope that it, is going to reverse the course? I mean, honestly, anybody listening here, I don't know, say how many people we got out there. Um, half a dozen. If my computer would reload, 11. Oh, thanks. All right, 11 of you. All right. How many of you really think this is reversible? That we can reverse course? How are we going to turn the failure around? The Federal Reserve failed America. That's the 17th Amendment failed America, destroyed the republic. America continues to fail again and again in the promise of promoting liberty and freedom, and protecting property is a big one. Yeah, I mean, if a central private bank controls half of everything that happens in the economy, how can you protect your private property? It's stolen from you because your money is your property, which is a reflection of your labor. I mean, how so? And we were born into this. We were stuck in this. It didn't kind of happen on our watch. It just kind of evolved beyond us during our time here. What can you say about that? Since you're linked 420 Mule Rebel, I'm going to kind of do it slowly here as I get started. Um, but just to get a couple of perspectives, I know 420 had a good angle on this from the comment I put out. But aren't we better off letting the perception of what is America fail and rebuilding something that more resembles it, or withdrawing ourselves from it so that and protecting what we know is the true meaning, I guess, of America: life, liberty, and property, and protecting those things? That's kind of where I'm going. I mean, I have a hard time, believing we can do anything else. So comments out there, I'm not seeing a whole lot directly addressing the subject, but please put them in there. I'm now that I've got a comment box. Last time I tried this, I didn't even have a comment box below. So yes, Sonoran, this is really happening. You are live in Memorex. So what does patriotism mean? And my definition of patriotism, and how not necessarily how it reflects on this question, but patriot defends the liberty of their neighbor. That is a true patriot. Protection of your neighbor's life, liberty, and property, the same as you would your own. That's really the only thing that matters. And I won't make this a long chat. This will probably be about an hour if I get anybody else in here to run their jaws with me. But with the caucuses coming up tomorrow and the impending doom that looks like a Hillary Clinton presidency, I mean, how do we continue to remove our consent or our approval from the system? How do we let it fail on its own? How do we separate everybody from the physical, land that is the greater American area, with separate that everybody perceives is all that matters? If everybody's stuck on 50 senators and 300 or whatever they are, and oh no, that's not true. We are America, and America, if the people in this chat, in this reading this chat and watching this, if you don't have life and liberty and your security of your property, America is dead. I mean, can you really say it any other way? Um, if you don't have those things, America's already failed. Why not withdraw your consent further? But again, it goes back to the question of how, I guess. Um, so Quasar, what's up? See you out there. G Mangoes, wow, G's in the house. I guess this is getting crazy. This is getting high end now. Um, yes, I think it's a live chat. As best I can tell. I got people answering and I'm talking. Um, just got started there, G. But 420, if you want to jump in, I sent you a link because I know you got a lot of good thoughts on this from your comment you made the other day. But because I know he's been talking about this type of stuff for a long time too. Me and him, I think one of our first comments on one of his videos was in this exact topic or similar, talking about secession, I believe, and the property rights of the Western states. But when we, I mean, current events aside, I think this Trump been barreling down on us, but yet people still remain. I mean, even people, and we all do it every now and then, I think, because we all have a natural tendency to revere, I guess would be a good way to say it, the American flag, America, the United States of America. Everybody's, seems to be proud of what that is, and they're proud to be an American for what that is. But you see an ever encroaching government that's conflicting with the contract in which they were formed. So again, a failure of America there. So we have to stop supporting the failure. We have to stop supporting these continuous failures in the contract, I guess you could say, or in the system, inevitably. We have between the IRS stealing your money every day, unjudiciously, the Federal Reserve stealing your money, your life and property, and your labor away from you every day. Multiple upon multiple failures. And then we have wars that are started unconstitutionally and have been fighting for 70 years, basically. We have a CIA that does whatever they want, which we're supporting unconstitutionally with our money. I don't see how you can see that as anything but a failure in the contract in America. What's up, Quasar? You on? You got me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. Hey, I was just want to say that was a good chat you had. I caught some of your chat on the replay this morning, so I enjoyed that yesterday. You guys had on the Dragon.
Oh, right on, man. Appreciate the compliment. Thank you, man.
And plus, just your icon is classic. So
yeah. Everyone gave me crap for originally putting a sloth picture up, and I got so much crap for it. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna keep putting more up, and I've just rolled with it over the years. And
yeah, you've always added something.
But yeah, man.
Yeah. So let me hear your thoughts. I've talked on here for like 10 minutes. That's a record for me. So.
Well, yeah, I've only caught little bits and pieces here. I was trying to get set up, and the chat went out and stuff. So I'm still trying to catch up here where exactly you're at.
Yeah, I was just kind of running down a list of failures in America, how it has failed, and just really why would we keep supporting that which has failed and continues to fail? It's kind of the premise of the whole title, and the question is is it, are we going to be able to stop it the failure? If not, isn't it better just to let it go and let it die, and and move on to something truer to the true cause, even if it's not named America, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, man, that's a tough question. It's a tough position that Americans, middle class Americans, red blooded Americans are in. In history, and we are witnessing history. What's going on now in this country will be talked about for the next 1,000 years. I believe where it's going to go.
Right. I
Here in
mean,
the short term, man, it's hard to say. It's hard to say.
yeah, you got to figure. The only equivalent is the Roman Empire in our history that of
Exactly.
anything approaching what is going on now. I think you're right
And
about that.
I'd like to point out too, like the Romans were like under the same shit: the propaganda, the bread and circus, the poisoning of their water and their food.
Hmm.
Because if you study Rome at any distance, you realize all those things what happened to them people, and it's kind of interesting the similarities.
So who like, and there's a good example, like who in the Roman Empire stood up and removed themselves and let it fail, and there it definitely happened because you had that transition. It doesn't say a lot about it in the history of why, but you had all these Germanic tribes that started becoming members of the legions and getting appointed as generals, and they weren't even Romans, which was contrary to Roman law. So, breaking of the law, but all these, Visigoths and Lombards and everybody who got promoted to generalships, who eventually sacked Rome, turned against it, from the inside.
History likes to attack Cicero, but it was probably Cicero that was trying to save Rome, not Caesar.
All right. Yeah. What's up, 420?
Not so much. What's going on, guys?
I'm having a reflective night here. I just wanted to, I don't know, do a short chat, or we'll see how long it goes. But, I,
Right on. Right on.
um, yeah, we were talking. I put this up the other day, and you and Fuzz commented on it, so I decided I'd
Yeah,
expound
yeah.
upon it because I didn't want to leave it hanging because it was I thought it was a relevant question
Yeah, I like the topic. Um,
with the political year and everything.
yeah, I mean, just where do we go from here, right? Like, I mean, do we involve ourselves with this fucking government, or do we let it fail? I didn't watch much of the chat yet, but what were your thoughts on it, HTP, before I comment?
Well, I hadn't even really, and I was talking about the difficulty of the whole thing. I mean, letting it fail is, you know, you just remove your consent, right? Or you got to stop paying taxes because that's supporting it, right? That's continuing the stringing out of the failure.
I mean, yeah,
All these supports we give it.
agorism, doing everything you can outside the dollar would be definitely the way to go. Be self-sufficient, which I mean we're going to need to fucking do whether the country fails through or the government fails through revolution or by its own demise. People like us are going to need to have our gardens and need to not rely on the grid, and I don't know, shit like that is definitely going to help those who want to protect themselves while this shit does go to hell in a handbasket. Get out
Yeah,
of the inner cities,
James
move to a low
Madison.
crime area. It's just going to keep getting worse.
James Madison stated that the truth is that all men having power ought to be mistrusted. In my opinion, we got to get back to the roots here. The founders were all about, pointing out the criminality and the rulers and the controllers of societies. These weren't just British controlling British societies or French societies. They were controlling the world. And the founders knew that, in my opinion. And we've Americans over the last 200, 150 years, since the Civil War, we've misplaced our trust. That's one of the things they got through in the Civil War. They took that mistrust of government and kind of did away with it a little bit, and over the years, it's now look what you got. You got you gotta be a statist. You gotta fucking love your government. They do no wrong. You know,
yeah, it's more of a dependence now for sure.
yeah, the complete opposite of everything this country was supposed to be.
Yeah, for sure. And then that's like, and Jefferson idealized the agrarian republic. He really idealized the farmer, the individual farmer, plantation life, and everything else of being the American standard. Obviously, we grew away from that, but I
Right.
mean,
And it
even
only
at an
and it
industrial scale, can you have a free society and an industrial society? I guess you'd say.
and you notice too, they tried very hard going through the 1800s to the early 1900s to get their system in place. I mean, there's Andrew Jackson quotes about him running off the central banks back then, back in the 1820s and 40s. You know, James Madison also stated, "A well-instructed people alone can be permanently a free people." That's another talking point right there, is that we don't have a free press. We're all divided. We're all divided because there's no accurate education system to there's no base to go from. There's no news base to go from. There's no like Benjamin Franklin stated, those who would overthrow liberty must first begin with the freedom of speech, which is why they've controlled the media for fucking how long? A long
Right.
time.
Well, and
Probably
the
since the
public school
days of,
system.
yeah, yes, sir.
The public school system lines up with that, and you talked about the Civil War and the dependence on government, more looking to Washington D.C. was probably a better way to say it at that time for the answers, because nobody wanted to stand up and get shot.
Well,
Um,
the education system. If anybody out there hasn't heard of Charlotte Iserby, you really need to go look her up. She was head of the Department of Education, or the Board of Education, for many years. I think it was the Department of Education. She wrote a book called The Deliberate Dumbing Down of America, and it talks about how that's what they did. That she was head of the Department of Education, and she started talking and speaking her mind about how they were dumbing the children down, and they eventually got her out of there. And
right.
and this is a lady that wrote 2 books on the deliberate dumbing down of America from an inside whistleblower.
I mean, yeah. I mean, how can you not see it? I mean, that's one thing I wanted to be growing up, was a school teacher, and once I retired, from the military, I was like, I don't want to go do that. Are you kidding me? I mean, my kids don't even attend school. My kids have been homeschooled from day one, and it's like I would. It would totally be a hypocritical move, I guess, to then go be a public school teacher.
And we question ourselves, like, well, how did they get this far with tyranny? Well, it's simple. I mean, we're hitting the talking point right now by talking about education and these things. Like Benjamin Franklin stated, a nation of well-informed men who have been taught to know and prize the rights which God has given them cannot be enslaved. It is in the reign of ignorance that tyranny begins.
Right, and I want to say this in the best manner possible, but the Industrial Revolution and the dependence on the daily worker transitioned a lot of that, because people just had to learn one skill. They just had to learn, go to work, do what you're told, and in your life, you maybe became a supervisor and you retired, or you had a pension and you moved on, and your family did the same thing. The steel workers, the auto workers,
Right.
they lived in that lifestyle. The coal miner, I mean, and they're respectable professions, but the thought process and the education that went behind it controlled their mind, I guess, without a better way to say it.
And just to go along with that, I mean, think about that. You had shopkeepers, store clerks, grocerymen. Those people were all able to work and live off the salary they made at those jobs. That was the standard. And people don't see the link between the devaluation of our currency and how it goes along with the deliberate dumbing down of America, and yada
Oh,
yada
exactly.
yada. Because
Yeah, Ford.
go ahead,
Go
man.
ahead. As I say, yeah, and it perfectly lined up the industrial production line, because the GM or whoever can get the loan to pay his workers extra to keep them in line, and everybody looks down on the farmer who's able to be self-sufficient and make his own tools, or some form thereof, and trade and barter, as being the ignorant one, but yet he was the free one.
Indeed.
Yeah, we're talking about you, 420, because you're the independent farmer, so
Right
you
on.
can let us have it.
Well, I mean, like, I don't know. I think the scale is kind of swinging back the other way. I mean, like, look how many people run a small online business as a second job and everything right now. You know, I don't know. I see a lot more entrepreneurs nowadays than I have in a long
Well,
time.
and then look at all the corruption in the banking system and the bailouts and all this shit, and it's going on worldwide. And then yet the founders, Ben Franklin, he stated the refusal of King George III to allow the colonies to operate an honest money system, which freed the ordinary man from the clutches of the money manipulators, was probably the prime cause of the revolution. You know,
Right.
I mean, how many times are we going to repeat history? I'm just
And as much as yeah, as much as we like to look at that example, I think, but the one big difference between now and then is geographic location
in population.
with the we are in the same contiguous area of the government, so we can't remove ourselves by an ocean. So it either all has to fall, in some respect, or
Which you
we're
make
all going down with it.
you bring up a good point by referencing the ocean. Admiralty law. If anybody don't know, they just got their law of the sea treaty through, I believe. That's going to affect you. I suggest you look it up.
Say that again.
The law of the sea treaty,
Right.
however it's pronounced. Something that they've been fighting up there in Washington for years and years and years. Now it's in there now.
Yeah, but the education definitely and the information, the dumbing down of the populace. So, I mean, getting back to kind of the question, when did America fail? I guess, or did the country fail a long time ago, and we're just living in a bastardized version that happens to carry the same name? I mean, can we agree on that?
Right.
Or
I believe it fell when we stopped acting like a republic, which would have been after the Civil War when we lost control of the courts, we lost control of the executive branch, we lost control of the judicial branch, all of them, dude. You know what I mean? And it's been a slow, slippery slope since.
why? And why do you think?
Well, like
Why didn't
you
people
stated,
allow?
dude. Sorry,
Why didn't people stand up and resist? I mean, other than the example of Civil
because
War,
of what you stated earlier, the Industrial Revolution,
people got
the
comfy
distraction,
jobs and they
the
just
distraction.
comfy jobs and they were living better than everybody else in the world.
Because look, it almost went 100 years, Wild Wild West days, and they still had liberty. You know what I mean? Those cowboys had it for a long time. We'll say
Was
65
it?
to be fair.
And maybe it was before. I mean, even before the 50s, and I'd say even before the 60s, you could still get away. You could still people that had a free mind could still have a place to go and be by themselves.
And as long as they knew their rights, the law couldn't fuck with them. That actually meant something back then.
Hey, I'd
Right.
like to address a couple comments in the chat, if that's all right. What do you guys
Hit it.
think about voting for Bernie Sanders so socialism will bring down the dollar in America sooner rather than later?
You can keep your safe socialism, in my opinion, and I'll keep my dangerous liberty, wherever it
Well,
takes me.
no, I know, but like if we're just going to stand back and let the government fail, then why not just like
But
speed
we
up
don't
the
we don't have to
process?
step back. That's the thing. We can just keep doing what we're doing. They're going to bring it down no matter what.
You're basically saying vote for
Yeah,
Sanders.
but I mean, let's speed it
Accelerate it,
up.
right?
I
Yeah.
mean, but also let's like blow up some overpasses and fucking do everything else we can to cost the government money.
Yeah, well, that's borderline
Yeah, that's not. I don't know about nothing about that.
terrorism, and
No,
I'm not
I
about
know,
that.
not that, but um,
I'm all about defense, like our
yeah,
founders.
yeah. You know what I mean, though. Just cost of money in different ways. It's not that hard to think of ideas of how it costs the government money.
Well, civil disobedience is the way. Peaceful civil disobedience, en masse. And until
Yeah.
we get the people en masse to participate in civil disobedience, whether that's protesting, writing letters at once, everybody has a bank holiday, like the people, where they don't spend any money that day, Bring down the system. Now that's how you affect change.
Yeah, but I mean, come on, let's be realistic. That shit's not gonna happen.
It's not going to happen until there's a catalyzing event to wake people up and snap them out of their food coma.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, how close is
I
that day?
don't
I
even
mean,
have that much faith in people.
we know the dollar is on its last leg, and so in the form it is now, it might transition to some other electronic. They'll go full electronic or full, whatever control. Bank holidays and everything else. The days of the free dollar are over for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and if they go to something else, like, all right, I completely understand why people are against Bitcoin, right? But, like, I mean, why can't we fucking explore counter currencies so we can fucking maybe do some electronic transactions outside the dollar? I don't know.
What do you mean totally against Bitcoin?
Well, like, it's a cryptocurrency, there's nothing backing it, most of the people that would resist government also resist Bitcoin.
All
Just
right. Well, I
because of
think the
what
biggest thing about
it
Bitcoin is,
you know?
I mean, the hurt on Bitcoin was it's pretty obvious it's been manipulated when they had those Mt. Gox and everything, and
Yeah.
people got
But I
caught
mean,
stealing
people
from it
won't
and
even
stuff.
learn about it. They like most of the people that I hear talk shit about Bitcoin can't tell me a single thing about blockchain or the public ledger or anything about how
All
it
right.
actually works.
Yeah.
They're just, it's cryptocurrency bad. Like we're gonna have to learn how to suss these things out. If they are going to an electronic currency, we want to try not to use their electronic currency. Let's try to have our own. If we can, right?
Yeah. I mean, using
If there's going to be an electronic
electronic.
currency, do you want the U.S. government controlling it, or do you want it to be open
Right.
source with the public ledger? If we're talking
Right.
about like honest currencies,
For sure.
Yeah.
But the biggest problem that I always had with it is I can't control it. I can't keep it.
Yeah.
It relies on the internet and relies on the electricity system. So.
Yeah. No, I always said some kind of cryptocurrency with actual physical metals backing it up or some physical commodity backing it is going to be
And
what winds up
no
being more popular.
No physical commodity is good if it's controlled by a central bank. Anyway. So as long as if there's a central bank, it doesn't matter either way. It's bad.
Yeah. But anyway, that's just my thought on Bitcoin since it got brought up.
But that's a huge one because the economic stimulus or the economy money that all supports the current system, the current government, if you will, what we people call America. If the money collapses, is the government gonna end? Per se.
Confidence in the government will, trust in the government will, even among the sheep, the people we're talking about that are addicted to their Skinner boxes. Skinner boxes equaling television, radio, mainstream, whatever. Like this gentleman I have on my screen right here, that's B.F. Skinner. That's the guy that developed the theories on controlling animals' minds by predictive behavior programming. That's the thing. People don't know these people like this. They don't know who this is. They don't know that there's scientists, very, very smart people that have been developing and implementing ideas and theories on how to control your mind en masse.
Right.
And that's the problem right there. People don't understand the level of scientific tyranny we're under, because that's just what it is. It's tyranny.
Yeah, I mean they're not abiding by any type of rule or law, so yeah, they make it up as they go along. So, going along this line, are we saying that we do is it patriotic to let the country fail at this point? Are we? I mean, past the point of no return. As the question asks.
Maybe I'm just stubborn. I don't know, but I refuse to let them have it. I'm going along with their way of thinking. If I can't have it, I'm not going to let them have it. Just the way they're thinking. If they can't have it, they're not going to let us have it. Call it spoiled little kids, call it kids in a sandbox, whatever. But fuck
Yeah.
them. I'm not bending over and cowering for no man. This is our country. This is our child's future. And you know what I mean? As far as I'm concerned, we've already won the moral high ground. So
Right. But
it's
again,
just getting the rest of it to
okay.
come along with.
But don't we want to separate the difference between the geographical region and the governmental region, or
Right.
the governmental entity, separating it from the
Well,
physical entity
I mean,
is key to making that happen, I think, to get the moral high
it
ground.
is, and that's why the founders put that option in the Constitution, right? The nuclear option to fire the federal government when they got too big for their britches, and declare Tenth Amendment powers. We the people, and that's the problem. We the people, en masse, refuse to learn our rights. We refuse to acknowledge our rights, and we refuse to enact our rights. Actually administer our rights. So all that is needed is for good men to do nothing type shit. And I believe that was only possible because of guys like this Skinner fucker, and Sigmund Freud and Edward Bernays, and all these other guys that behind the scenes that have been developing these ways scientifically to take humanity socially over and steer it. But we'll get called a conspiracist if we
So,
talk about Mr. Skinner.
I mean, yeah, because most people don't want to admit that there's people that are psychopaths that want to control their life.
Well, not just they're psychopaths. We gotta really point out that these are
If you
not
want
just
to, if you
psychopaths.
want to,
They're in power psychopaths, and they have been for a
yeah,
very
yeah,
long time.
oh yeah, yeah. But well, whether in power or not, psychopath, I think anybody wants to control somebody else. By
Right.
my definition, is a psychopath. So yeah, I know what you're saying. And they have high levels of power. And the thing is that they're listening to other people tell them what to do. Is even scarier.
Right. Right.
They're
You know,
not
it's
there's
like,
large groups of them.
and now you see what they're implementing. With their information war, they know they're losing. So look what they're doing. They're going after the First Amendment, their free speech zones, this and that. It's like I point out all the time what Joseph Stalin said: ideas are far more powerful than guns. We do not allow our enemies to have guns. Why should we allow them to have ideas? And that's the thinking of all these people, right there.
Hey guys, I mean, isn't the problem with psychopaths just going to be inherent with government, right? I mean, these people want
No,
power. Anytime you
it's
create a
actually
fucking position of power, they're going to seek it.
well,
The
it's
fucking normal, honest people aren't going to seek it. It's the fucking one of the main downfalls of any kind of fucking government is that psychopaths seek fucking power, and normal fucking human beings don't.
Well, it's not just government though. So the theory is kind of flawed there because it's pointed out in corporations, powerful corporations, the Fortune 500 corporations. Dude, you can actually look up theses. What is it? What's the term? On the mind and stuff, and behavior theses on people basically pointing out that psychopaths have an easier time rising to power and rising to positions of management and judicial and judges and DAs and all that because they're not they're less they have no empathy, they don't care, you know what I mean. They'll do what it takes.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, like, what difference does it make if I mean, psychopath in a fucking corporation isn't going out and killing 500 million
Yeah, they
Iraqi
are.
children, right?
They are.
They are. Yeah,
Yeah,
which ones? I mean, like,
all of them,
I mean,
all of them. And it's very provable. They're all linked to the military-industrial contractors. They're the ones fucking building the bombs, and then not just the bombs, but the materials it takes to build the bombs that they dump in the oceans,
just because
and then poison the water supplies. The
fucking
Fortune
bombs
500
doesn't mean they
corporations are
fucking
just as
bombs
bad
anything. The
as the
goddamn
governments, and
governments,
they are
man.
in bed with the government. It's a definition of fascism.
Oh
Period.
no, I know they're in bed with the governments, but I mean, come on, like if fucking Monsanto killed 500 million fucking people tomorrow, there'd be fucking public outlash against them, and there already is. There's way more fucking public outlash against Monsanto than there is any fucking war there's been in the last 20 years.
Eh. I would disagree with that. I think the propaganda's gotten stronger, is what it is. Their control over it. They've put more money and they're putting more power and effort to control and silence things like that, especially outside this country. You know, that's proven. Look at the shit that went on in Egypt, and look at the stuff that's going on in Syria right now. You got the 5 armies, the world's 5 fucking biggest armies, all in a little area. How many pictures have you folks seen, or satellite imagery of all those ships in the bays and all that war material on the field
You
and
don't see
shit?
Jack.
You
All
don't
I'm
see
saying
shit.
is that when fucking psychopaths get control of a government, they fucking kill billions of people. When psychopaths get control of a corporation, they fucking make as much money as they can, whether it's
Well,
building bombs or selling chemicals. You know, it's completely. I mean, it's pretty fucking different. You know, the consequences of the two.
I
But
disagree. But you have your right to your opinion, man.
But I think it brings me back around. Like, just keep it focused on America. Um, you know, how did America get so complacent to allow the psychopaths to get in control in the first place? Why don't people? At some point, people still understood their rights. Why did we? Well, was it the baby boomer generation where things were so good that people just forgot about their rights? It was only about small little cliques of women and minorities, or what? Why did the majority not understand the bigger picture of rights
Well,
and resisting that? What you're talking about,
besides the bread and circus, what I've kind of theorized is it was probably the mass exodus from the rural areas into the giant cities. You know what I mean? In my
Yeah.
opinion, humans weren't meant to live, 300,000 people inside 3-4 square miles.
But it's because you have your neighbor living across on the other side of the wall from you. How did people forget their rights? That doesn't negate people understanding that
it
they have
made
a
it made
right
it well.
to
It kind of made it easier for the
they live in.
behaviorists to destroy the family units, right?
By the moving them into cities. Only if they were
Right.
separated from their family, I guess, during the move. Yeah, yeah,
Well,
the
I mean,
family unit being a big part of.
they go from living out on a farm or as a hunter or gatherer type of family lifestyle to living in a city where mom and dad or whatever got to go to work. There's a lot more separation. You know what I mean? Maybe we weren't designed as humans to live like that. I don't know. I'm just,
Well, I
Yes,
mean,
you're
like,
slave away
go
from
out to
somebody
the country. Who paves the roads in the country? The fucking neighbors get together and they dump a load of gravel out on it, or they fucking pay a
right.
guy with a tractor to come fill the ditch or something, you know?
Yeah, a lot of
Move to the
times, yeah.
city. Who
right?
provides the roads? Oh, it's the government. Government does everything. We need more government.
Well, that's just it. And actually, it's the federal government, which it's not even supposed to be like that. That's how the federal government keeps control of the states. That's why all the speed limit laws in states are actually federal laws. The feds actually go on the states and tell them, hey, well, if you don't impose those laws, you don't get no money. And that's how they keep
Right.
control of it. That's how they keep the laws that they
Yeah,
want on the
exactly.
books and separate the ones they don't.
Yeah. Well, and so that kind of digs a little deeper when you talk about local, state, um, you know, supporting letting the complete structure collapse. Because more than likely, like you're saying, everything at the state level is funded. So if the federal government collapses, under this economic system or whatever it happens, the states are going to go down with it because they're getting paid. I mean, most states are 80-70% funded by the federal government through
Right.
these block grants and everything else, whether it's highway funds, health and human service. I think Department of Health and Human Services has the largest single grant program of any of the federal departments, by far. I'm pretty sure. So all your school grants, nobody's public schools will operate without the federal government. All that stuff. All your teachers, all your everything, all that money flows into somebody in your community. Which,
Right.
if it disappeared, if it stopped flowing tomorrow, what would happen?
Well, it's like somebody I try to like when I talk to newbies when I'm trying to teach them about the economic system, the money system we use. And I point out the fact that even the pocket change had silver in it, right? Well, when they took
Mm-hmm.
when Nixon did what he did, and they started taking all that silver out of the money and giving you, metal, just metal, replacing it with metal money, where did all that silver go? Where did that wealth go? Just like the derivatives, just like
Well,
the
I got some
bailouts.
silver.
They how much in bailouts did they take? 24.7 trillion or something that they acknowledge, but it's way more than that. We all know it's more than that. And how many jobs did it create? How many
Well,
roads
that
did it build? And how many bridges did it build? We're
but
talking
most of
about
that trillion, those trillions were just digital numbers. They weren't real anything.
a lot of
There
it. Yeah,
wasn't labor put in to make that.
right.
That's
Most of it.
the key thing is most people we've got it. People need to understand that there's fake digits on a computer that lead into some of this
But
collapse, and then there's real money that real people work for that labor goes into to create wealth
right,
that
and that
actually
gets into
does happen, and that's
that,
the real painful stuff.
that gets into the Keynesian economics. The whole basis behind what we're living under. And then you get a point. Let's see. I'm gonna hold on, man. My internet's breaking up, dude. I'm gonna pause for a minute.
Okay, but just kind of expound what I was talking about is, we talk about the X number of trillions of dollars that were supposedly part of the bailout. It was all fake and made up. It just appeared on a computer, and GM or whoever got it and supposedly put it to work, which they didn't. And
Right.
we're not better for it. I mean, I think there was a thing on CNBC, an article about it's like 18 trillion was their number they put out there. This is what we got for 18 trillion dollars. Well, obviously we're back where we were in 2008, and
right.
we're about ready to go down again.
Well,
a lot harder.
I'd ask those guys too if I had them standing in front of me is that under Clinton, and this is admitted by all the mainstream news, it was a big fucking hoodoo. It was a big hoodoo when it happened that under Bill Clinton's, direction or whatever the hell was going, they had surpluses of money during his first term. Surpluses. They fattened us up and they looted it. They fattened the treasury up and they looted it. Right before 9/11, you got what was it, 700 trillion or 70 trillion that went fucking missing, never heard from again. All the gold that was underneath Building 7 or one of the buildings there, that all disappeared. Nothing's ever heard from it again. All the gold in Libya, all the wealth in Libya, all the wealth out of World War II and World War I, the train loads of fucking jewelry and gold teeth, and those weren't just Jewish jewelry. They didn't just rob the Jews. They robbed everybody. Where did it all go? It's mind-boggling. It really is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and knowing where it's going, I mean, is it gonna? I mean, we can't turn it around, right? It's like, so. I think in the economic collapse is probably the one thing that, if everybody understands that that's going to happen, that's not sustainable, and if you continue to sustain it, you're just a slave to the system has no chance of ever having any type of prosperity. If people would realize that and understand that, then let America fail. It will fail. I mean,
one
current concept of what America is.
One thing I'll say about Islam, dude, is that they're against usury. That's one of the things in their banking system,
right.
Their money system. They're 100% against usury. It's kind of interesting.
Right. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who don't follow that necessarily, but by the strictest letter of the law, yeah.
Well, it's just it's just like, what do they say in the Bible? The only time Jesus got mad is when he chased out the money changers because of the usury system.
Right. Yeah, I always like that meme. When people ask you what would Jesus do, don't forget that turning over tables and chasing people around with a whip is one of the options.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great one.
But no,
sure.
you're supposed to just cower and let the criminals.
It's one of the most evil ways. It is definitely one of the most evil things that to control somebody's labor, basically, because money is a reflection of your labor. People forget that. We're not taught that.
Your blood, your sweat,
that's
your
one of the hardest things.
Energy. Yeah.
Yeah. It's your whole livelihood. It's the hardest thing to get across to kids too. That's one of the things I've tried to really, break down from when they ask things like how much something costs. I'm like, well, it takes me, I have to work for 2 hours or whatever to get that, To break it down, like, it really, in real terms, it takes something to get that. It's not just money out of anywhere.
Well, and it's like another thing too to point out is that the American currency has been devalued by 98 point whatever percent it is at the moment. Right, we have less than 2% of our value of our currency when it was fucking formed left. Where did that go? That wealth that represents that. Okay, there's a reason why a candy bar cost fucking 3 cents, 3 pennies. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that it just didn't. There wasn't just hyperinflation. That money went somewhere. That wealth went somewhere. That wealth is still there in their hands. You know what I'm saying?
You ever been
But
to
yet they
Washington
left
D.C.?
us with the fucking. They left us with the fucking. The dividend. We split 2%.
Yeah, right. Yeah, smaller and smaller share. And they talk about, there's an article about the widened wealth gap. The article was saying that the wealth gap isn't shrinking as fast as it should. And it's like it's not supposed to. A central banking system that uses fake currency it's always going to have wealth gap. It's there by design to
Yeah.
push money to the top. It's the way it's designed. It's a Ponzi scheme. So, you still there, Quasar?
Yes, sir.
You're muted. Okay, you're muted. Just let me go in the chat room real quick, since we've ignored them for the better part of an hour, or we talked to them briefly there. But we got quite a few out there commenting. Bikes and Bullets, I sent you a link, but I guess you don't want it. 504 Dirt Dart, it's kind of past your bedtime, isn't it? Goodness, haven't seen you on a chat this late in a while. Kevin Stoll, how you doing? I'm assuming you're talking about the psychopaths having no soul. D. Vincent W. How you doing? Psychopaths feel no empathy. Yes, I believe that's true. Don't worry about how they feel. Do you think people should be forced to vote? I don't think anybody thinks people should be forced to vote. That's ridiculous. But um, maybe he was talking about when I first started this chat, talking about going to the caucus and just being involved. We can get back into that. But no, I don't. I don't think anybody's ever even alluded to the people being forced to vote. It's like this recent thing with the talking about women being forced to sign up for selective service, and I'm like, my son's not even going to sign up for selective service if I have anything to do with it.
Right.
The draft's wrong. Bottom line.
Especially with
And that
the criminal administration we got going.
goes back to letting the system fail. Bikes and Bullets talking to 420 about Bitcoin. All right, you guys got that locked down. G Mangoes. I think somebody cares. I'm not sure who. I know you care, or you wouldn't have commented, right? Compliance is a key point to definitely resisting the system. Non-compliance in many fashions to many things, but the hardest one is, I think, the tax system, which supports the whole endeavor. G comments again, we can't even get people on the same page, let alone care about the country. Let it go years ago. So now in Desert Prepper in the house. And Sonoran's putting his weight behind Bernie Sanders, apparently, so that's a guarantee that Hillary will win if SDP is backing Bernie.
Speaking of SDP in the house, SDP was at my house today.
Oh, man. Yeah, I got to get down there sometime, or you guys got to come up here sometime or something. Stan Ulch, go outside the system. They would just mandate you get back in, and that's like Obamacare, mandating you being in the system. Any type of socialized anything, is a mandate. It's just like the bank holiday, mandating that your money is going to end up in their pocket. I sent you a link too, I think, Stan. Mountain Man 1478 out there, how you doing? And J Watt, back to the beginning, is out there. And so we got a few more. 01LS 1SS. I don't know what's this supposed to stand for. I know I've seen him in chats before, but saying vote for Sanders, get free shit. Yep. Fuzzy to you. Is that Fuzz Forks other half or something? And I think that takes us up to date with everybody out there in the chat. A lot of comments. and we still have 14 watching, and we're almost an hour in. So good job, Quasar. You got us this far. um, so we've kind of rehashed a lot of, or reviewed a lot of history and how we got to where we are. So I guess the question, knowing all the things we just talked about, the economy, the state of the country, how it's the state of the Constitution and the effect in the country and the law, and the psychopaths that run it, and the corporations and the money system. So, that's the question. Do you let America fail as a patriot to renew America's real promise? Because in America, it's supposed to be life and liberty, and wait to, or build something that's along those lines instead of continuing to support the current failure. At least of what the dream of America was.
I don't know, man. It's a hard question.
And I know nobody wants to do that because it's the ideological, romanticized. Nobody wants to be the one on watch when it happens. But aren't you complicit in a theft or a murder if you allow it to continue too? Saints and Sappers joins us out there. I sent you a link to Saints. I think you'd have some good comments on this if you've heard any of the previous conversation. Let's see. But that's the thing. I think that's the thing that hinders us the most is nobody wants to be the one that is responsible for the end, and that's why it's a slow collapse, and everybody's fighting their hardest to support it. I think most people think that supporting the failure is more important than letting it fail. I think that's where we're at in large respect. Any thoughts on that, 420 or Quasar? I hit the tennis ball back over the net at you.
I mean, I don't know what could be more patriotic than having this government we have now fail. I don't know.
Right, and that's what I was trying to say. I mean, but do you agree that people kind of hold on and just don't want to be around?
If it ends it, I mean, then yeah. But I mean, there's a lot of bad that could happen too. So I mean, who knows?
Right. I mean, you're always more afraid of what you don't know, right? You know the evil in front of you. You're afraid of the evil you don't see, or what's on the other side. You're more afraid of the unknown. Fear of the unknown is probably the greatest fear there is.
Well, yeah, it's. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I had to redo because I couldn't talk before. I don't know why, but it's like the guy in the Matrix, the second Matrix movie, right? The guy that wants to go back in the Matrix, so he commits treason on the ship, right? That's where people are. They hear these things, they get these little nudges towards liberty and freedom and pointing out that there's tyranny on the horizon, but they don't care. They want to go back into the bread and circus of the Matrix.
They know the steak's not real, but it tastes so good.
Exactly.
I mean, there's so much in that movie. I mean, it's like almost overdone, but yeah, so true.
And I think a lot of that is where you get these people that just are constantly, talking shit about anybody who tries to do anything. I think those are the same people that just want to go back in the Matrix, and so,
yeah.
They just don't realize it consciously, but subconsciously they're putting out all this shit, and you can tell they just want to fucking crawl back in the hole, man. Yeah. They don't want to be faced with this shit daily.
Yeah, you're sending them vibrations that they don't like, and they want it to stop.
Yeah, like I don't know, stand too much, but like it's statements like this, right? Go outside the system, and they will just mandate you back in. Well, I mean, so that's an excuse never to fucking try to go outside the system? Like, oh, what? That's an excuse, not to collect your rainwater because then as soon as enough people start doing it, they're going to outlaw it, Like, what's the fucking, where's that line of thinking going to get you,
Right.
Right. Well, they are
right now
gathering rainwater before it was really even a thing, too. They got ahead of that in some states already.
Right.
Hey, Saints, what's going on? How you doing?
Oh, nothing much. There, listening to you guys. Y'all are right though. I mean, America, man, she's like a great aunt that's been around and she's always helped you and you love her, but she's old. You know, you've been loving her for 50, 60 years, and she's old and she's sick, and you don't know whether to pull a plug on her, try to give her that miracle cure, and get her back on her feet. You know, cause she's been in a lot of wrecks and got a lot of scars on her, but man, sure have been with her a long time. Hard decision.
One of the quotes that have gotten me through all this stuff, getting into all this depressing shit that we informed intellectual people that or like to think that we're intellectuals like to do, is this quote: "An error does not become truth by reason of multiplied propagation, nor does truth become error because nobody will see it." Mahatma Gandhi. It doesn't matter if all these liberals and these Bernie Sanders lovers and these idiots want to talk shit on us and give us a hard time because we're against their socialistic fascistic ideas, because real people that know history know that those ideas have always failed. They're no better than any monarchy or anything else that's been tried in the decades. The only thing that's been different and bared actual fruit is liberty that the founders tried to give us, that was never actually fully implemented, in my view. We got a shadow of it. We almost got there and we lost it.
There was flaws and everything.
Yep.
They gave us the opportunity to improve upon it, and that really never took fruit and took total hold. Yeah.
Yep.
Um, and you said something I was going to comment on, and I just lost it.
Sorry, brother. Yeah,
Well,
I
there's
mean, in my
Apology.
opinion,
I don't think I'd ever compare it to my great aunt, but yeah, something that you care so much about, you've got so much invested into it. It could be anything, whether it's a family member, but you know, the only thing you know is what you have in front of you, and what the unknown is on the other side is really a tough part.
isn't that what it makes us being an American, right? Free choice, free will, just like God intended, right?
I,
We're
Well,
being given that choice to either defend liberty, defend America's honor, or to let the Muslims have it.
well,
or the corporations or whatever.
there's a
Yeah,
lot of stuff.
exactly.
There's a lot of stuff that turned no girl on her head like a bank run. People go, everybody wanting to get their money out of the bank. That'd be and well, I like they did in Greece, but on a giant scale, a United States size scale, with no everybody wants their money out of the bank, but there's no money there to give them. A lot of people's
Yep.
gonna be mad. A lot of them's gonna be ill. A lot of them's gonna be rednecks.
Well, that'll wake a lot of them up, because over the years I've been, especially the most hardened ones, I've been telling them that too. You're going to lose your shit. You're going to lose it. Everything that's in there, you're going to lose. And
Well,
when it
that's why
comes
they want,
back, they're going to offer you pennies on the dollar that you had in there.
and that's why they want to ban cash, so you don't
Yep.
even want to do a bank run because you can't. You can't
Right.
get cash out.
That turned her on her head, and they're gonna get mad at the tellers and the little girl works behind the counter and all that, but it's not their fault. It's way farther up the ladder.
Right, right. It gets back to Keynesian economics. It gets back to the usury system. It gets back to, you know, I hate to harp on the communist shit, but does anybody out there ever ever read the Communist Manifesto and ever compared it to actual history and what's going on in America here? Because I got news for you. They've almost implemented it.
Yeah, we're
All,
pretty close to there, 100%.
all the
Yeah.
way down to the training the children that if you see your mom and dad doing something, turn
Yep.
them in because the state is your mother. The state is your nurturing, your milk of life. If your mom and dad goes against the party, turn them in. If you see them
Yeah,
hiding food, turn them in. I remember all that.
it's just bizarre how accurate 1984 the book was. I mean,
Right.
it's just eerie when you look at it and you're like, oh, that's happening. That's happening. Oh, we're there. I mean, it's just little degrees of difference, but we're
it,
there.
it gets in, like I stated before, it gets into Edward Bernays, Zygmunt Brzezinski, I'm sorry, Edward Bernays, uh, Sigmund Freud, B.F. Skinner, all these other social engineer scientists that developed the theories and the ways to do this shit. And it's an old game. That's the motherfuck of it. It's an old game. You know, those who can make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities. Voltaire. There's the quote
Mm.
right there, people. That's why nobody cares when Madeleine Albright stands up there and says, "Yeah, it was okay to kill 500,000 Iraqi children." Really?
All right. Yeah,
You know,
it was a better thing to do than
yeah, right. It's okay.
that's a bizarre interview. They
Yeah,
just let it pass, and like the lady's like interviewer's like, oh, okay, well if you say so. You know,
it's
and you know what's going to be tougher, and you talk about you you know, you talked about the Bernie Sanders supporters, but who's going to be even tougher is if Trump gets this in, it's going to be even harder dealing with those people because their cognitive dissonance is of the nature of they really think they're at the patriotic level.
oh
Like
yeah,
Bernie Sanders supporters, they admit, hey, I'm a socialist. I think
yeah.
everybody should get stuff. You know, people on the Trump side think that he is the savior. He's going to bring back America, make America great, yada yada yada.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness!
I hate to make this comment, but he's the white Obama.
I agree. I mean, he's a narcissist. He'll say anything narcissist who's just trying to get the power and the fame and the fortune, maybe even to I mean not fortune but fame that goes with it, because he's got a fortune already. But yeah, I mean the people just it's just the cognitive dissonance of these people that they can't see through that. You know, like you say, he's a white Obama because he just says whatever people wanted to hear.
Right.
They didn't want they don't want Muslims in. Hey, I'll keep the Muslims out. You don't want this. You want the southern border to close? I'll close it down and I'll make Mexico pay for it. It's total. I mean,
he's playing that Orwellian flute of propaganda, and the sheep are lining up and following him.
oh, it's crazy how people follow it. Like, you people actually think he can do this? And and if he thinks he can do it, you're going to line up and do it for him, I guess. And that's our biggest problem we have now is you have all these government agents, government people, government stooges, government whatever you want to call them, toadies that are willing to do whatever they're told. And that is our biggest problem as in America, and that's why America is failing.
Well, if Trump does everything he says he's going to do, he won't have time to play golf if he's a golfer because between rounding up all the illegal immigrants and sending all the Syrians back to Syria and building a wall and all the world problems and you know he's going to jump in and tell Europe how to solve all their problems.
Well, pretty sure he's going to start a war with Russia too. Didn't he say that?
Absolutely. The man's bit off more than he can. He's to me, he's bit off more than he can possibly chew.
Yeah.
Well, because none of it's legitimate, none of it's serious, in my opinion. I mean,
he's
just saying it because he knows people like it. It's a soundbite.
Political pandering.
I think it's going to be a whole lot of arguing because there's people in there that are going to stay in there that don't like him, that are going to argue with him, and all it's going to be is, I'm afraid, kicking the can down the road.
They got to straighten out.
Either that or he's going to try to go the executive order right. Well, if you don't want to do it, I'll do it my way. Because that's, you know, once he gets mad and starts trying to fire people, you're fired. You're fired. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that goes to the question. You know, we talked about voting for Bernie Sanders to speed up the process and let America fail. Does Trump almost do that just in a different way?
Absolutely.
In the fascist, on the fascist line of it? Because he can't pay for what he's promising. You know?
No.
It'll be entertaining with Trump in there.
The only thing that's going to save America politically in the geopolitical sphere is if all of these 193 bases that we have is if we literally close every one of them and bring all those troops home and immediately all the money that was being used on all that warfare be put back to rebuilding America. Building our own shirts. Why the fuck are Chinese building American shirts? Why are Chinese people, Mexican people, and South American people building American shoes? America's fucking underwear. This is bullshit. And I'm so, but nobody wants to go back to the fucking 90s when even Ross Perot was like, you know, he wasn't no fucking angel, but he even warned you. He warned the people. There's going to be a giant fucking sucking sound as they take your jobs right out of the country because of NAFTA and GATT. But look what they do. They pass even more trade deals. They pass even more bullshit. And now they're fucking just going for broke. And, dude, I mean, I don't know. I like I said before at the beginning of the thing, I don't think we have to do much to let America fail. We're already failing.
they don't even know what's coming because nobody really knows what's been passed that's already a law that hadn't rolled out on them yet.
Right. They
Wait
won't. They
till they
won't turn
start
off their
pulling
Skinner
all this.
box.
Wait till they start reading the small print on the TPP
Yeah.
and
Right.
the FCC regulations.
Or
Wait till
or
they
how
get into
or
the
or the law of the sea bill they just passed that fucking basically says you don't have no fucking water rights anywhere.
Did that pass? I haven't seen.
From what I hear, it's almost, or it's going to, or it has. I don't know.
Okay, I didn't see that.
It's gonna pass. It will pass. I believe it will. In my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
but I mean that's almost like as enforceable as taking away gun rights. I mean, really,
Well,
think about it.
the thing
Like,
is they can get if they can get the good Americans to comply,
Then they only
because
need the
there's a
right
lot
Christ.
of people out
yeah,
there.
and snitch on
There's a
their
lot of people
neighbor.
out
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
There's a
yeah.
lot of people out there who have a Second Amendment sticker, who have an NRA sticker, who, if the law came down and it actually passed a resolution in Congress and the president signed it, they would give up. They'd be like, "There it is." There's people that will not
Uh,
stand when the
Yeah,
time
no,
comes.
I
There's a
know,
lot
I
of them.
know.
Yeah, and
But
that's
we don't
yeah.
need them either. All we need is the willing minority. The passionate, willing minority. That's all we need, and we have that. They estimate that our numbers, dude, are ridiculous. I mean, we really, because of the internet, thank God, we really have grown our numbers, patriotically speaking, and they know that. That's why they're flipping out. You know what I mean?
The real America, you mean?
Yeah.
In the America, the sense of what America is supposed to be, not in the governmental sense of what
Well, you
who
know who it
supposedly
is.
represents. Yeah.
It's the middle class. It's the blue collars. It's the lower white collar guys. It's even some of the upper echelon guys, the guys that fucking just go along to get along, that are so compartmentalized they don't realize that they're actually participating in the and giving this beast energy to destroy America.
Mm-hmm.
well, something's got to be done because these people have come out and said they're not going to debate anymore. So
Right.
everybody that says we need to go debate it some more, we need to go debate. That's just like the BLM, the FBI guy coming out and saying, "Look, we're not going to debate this
Yeah.
anymore."
Well, they do it with the freedom of speech too. I mean,
And they say there will be no more of this and there will be no more of that. So obviously they're not going to talk about it
right.
anymore. They've made their stand and they're not going to give it up.
Well,
Not
well
without
and then
somebody.
this latest shit coming out of the DOJ that says that anybody that fucking propagates memes, okay, or anybody that fucking supports the founders, or it's freedom of speech issues. Now they're just basically saying that any constitutionalist, libertarian, conservative, birther, whatever you are, is a political enemy and you can be arrested. That's the
Well,
talking points coming out of the DOJ right now.
it's obvious. I mean, Cliven Bundy is a political prisoner.
Yes.
You know, he is a political prisoner. I don't think you can cut it any other way. I mean, you can say his sons were arrested, yada yada, the Oregon thing. Cliven Bundy is a political prisoner. Those charges you read about him, it's like I've had several people comment like, "Who was the amateur lawyer that wrote these up?" Because they're just it's ridiculous. I
This
mean,
is not. Yeah, this is not the man they're describing in this paper. They are describing somebody different than who they've got written in this paper.
And then you got to listen to liberals talk about that Obama's been a good president. It's fucking ridiculous. This guy's put more political prisoners in jail than any other administration, probably since Lincoln. And yes, people, Lincoln actually fucking incarcerated people for their freedom of speech.
well, I don't know. Roosevelt did what 100 and some thousand.
Oh, that's true.
So
That's true. My bad. I just totally missed that part. Yeah,
it's
he
hard to
did. He
beat
did.
Roosevelt.
Well, that and all the fucking the Germans and the Japanese. They were put in internment camps because of the color of their skin, because of the political warfare climate. So yeah, they were political prisoners too.
Yep. Yeah. Real quick shout out in the chat room. Partisan Gorilla has been in there a while. Just hadn't said good evening to him. And a big shout out to Mario Lewis, who haven't seen him I don't think I've ever seen him in a chat. But where does the myth of the flood tie into this? I don't know that it does tie into this conversation at least. So unless somebody in the chat room mentions
status expert.
Conspiracy chats or
I know,
Tuesday nights.
I know Mario, so I'm not sure if he's commenting on somebody else's comment or what.
I can tell you where the hellfire and brimstones come from. It's called fallout and secondaries going off.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, and that's probably the one thing that we talk about holding on to letting America fail versus supporting its failure. People will continue to support the failure because they're afraid of, because if America gets weak, there's going to be war in the streets, whether it's supported by Mexican gangs or Islamic insurgents or China or Russia. There's people going to be trying to get what's here. So that's probably the fear of that is probably helps support the supporting the failure of America because people want to keep this government going to protect them from that in a large respect.
Well, if it fails, you'll see little bits of that everywhere. You'll see gang fights, you'll see the religious fights, you'll see the racial fights, you'll see all these different conflicts of everybody that's got any anger against anybody else will come out, which is
Kind of
not
like
good
the
for not
kind of
good
like
for
the current
America.
political climate, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's ever going to go back to where it was at. They're not going to get. I don't think they very rarely ever give anything back. You have to take it.
Yeah. They never have. Yeah, you're
Well,
right.
well, and then the problem is too is people like us don't spend enough time reading their words, reading their documents, reading their scientific papers. No, they're not going to give it back. Actually, they're
And
going to depopulate the planet, and that's exactly what they say.
the people that vote on it don't even read it. I mean, a lot of times we don't read it because we don't get the, it's not even in print for us to read it. It's done behind closed doors. Now, what does that say for the state of the world?
But what the scary thing is enough of it does get out there to where guys like us or guys like me who are, seek it out, you can find their bullshit or their videos where they say blatantly that there's too many people, we need to kill them.
Well,
There's
that's
too,
what
there's,
Right.
they
Kissinger
you
was a
know,
big one.
and they don't mince words. They don't fucking mince words either.
yeah, that's what they were saying about
Is Kissinger still alive?
Dude, Kissinger still goes into the White House and has White House briefings. Like, I don't think it's daily, but I know he's probably in there once a week, once a month.
So he's still alive.
He still affects politics.
Okay, that's too bad.
Yeah. You can type in Kissinger Obama right now in Google, and you'll find probably all kinds of pictures of him sitting there right next to Obama in the White House, Oval Office.
Yeah.
He's got to be about 150 years old.
Yeah, he's over the hill. I mean, he talks about people wasting resources. Well, yeah, I think he's one of them.
He'll be just in time for Mr. Gates' eugenics list.
Right.
Yeah, well, I don't want to get off topic, so I'm not going to bring anything. I've got
Right.
I've got a subject at work that's been coming up a lot but yeah, eugenics is a big thing going around the world right now.
Well, it can go down, and it's not going to take a whole lot because everything's on a razor's edge right now. It could go left or right.
Yeah, and
People
it's just a
really,
matter of getting people. I mean, and that's the big thing about Trump is he's just trying to get people riled up against each other enough to hate each other enough to kill each other. I mean, he doesn't have to do it. He just has to get people upset enough at each other to do it.
Dude, the fucking liberals are pissed. They don't I'm hearing them say, I'm going to move out of the country.
Oh yeah,
It's
right.
crazy.
hate him. They hate him. They're not going to deal with him. They're not going to work with him. They're going to fight him the whole time he's in if he gets in.
Yeah,
They're
well,
not going to work with him.
so will I. I'll fight him
Well,
too.
they've got their little clique just like the rest of them do. Obama came in, they had his little clique lined up. The Bushes, they had the clique lined
Yeah.
up. I'm afraid Trump's got a different clique he runs with. I mean, he runs with some of them, but I think some of them he doesn't
I
want to
mean,
do business
I
with.
mean, he's part of the corporate elite, obviously. I mean, he runs with the people who. I mean, maybe they're just gonna. This is the drop in the hammer, getting rid of the political class, and they're unveiling it that the corporate class is going to rule it from now on. I mean, maybe that's what this means. I don't know. And we're talking about you know Sanders and Trump being a easier means to the failure of America and the collapse, whereas I see Hillary and Rubio being that's how they're going to string everybody along. If one of those gets in, that they're just going to lengthen the pain because those two are going to just ease everybody's concerns and play political politics and everything gets strung out over a longer period of time.
Well, the U.S. could be a very topsy turvy place if it goes if it goes to that, because to what extent does it go before it starts back up? Does it go all the way down to sticks and stones in the street, or do statesmen actually stand up and push the Constitution back into place where it's supposed to be? How far does it dip down before it comes
Well, I
back
think
up?
the real question is how the people that work for the federal government, the little tyrants, as I like to call them, the ones that are going to obey the orders or have obeyed the orders, the people that did Waco, the people that, shot Lavoy Finicum, people like that. When are those are the ones that make the difference. Those are the ones that are going to enforce, or maybe not enforce, or finally stop enforcing the things that they're not supposed to. And when somebody at the states, because if a state stands up, there's people that are going to do just like Lincoln and start killing their fellow Americans. There's people in the FBI and other agencies that will like Michelle Fiore, the representative. There's people in the federal government who will go out and do what they're told and arrest her, take her out, whatever they're told to do.
Absolutely.
And that's the people that are really supporting the failure. They are the failure in America, because they're tyrants, and they're not living up to
because
his
Man,
life and
most of
breathing
them
everything.
have
because
to
it's
be like that,
mild-pointed.
though. Most of them have to have that attitude, right? I mean, they're trained that any other interpretation, like of the Constitution, other than what your superiors tell you,
Yeah.
is just a sovereign citizen, and they're probably gonna fucking kill you, so you better kill him first, right? Like that's how these fuckers are trained.
There's a lot
like,
of training like that. Yeah, you're right.
the only these laws stand because judges have interpreted them, and that's the Constitution. And so they fucking
Yeah, and
all of
that's
them,
our big
most of them,
problem. They're
most
the
of them
people
believe
that,
they have the Constitution on their side. They fucking are completely convinced that everything they're doing is constitutional.
I think a lot of them do.
well, I think
Well,
they
not
think
just
that
that,
as
but
long as they have
they think they have the moral high ground as well.
yeah, I think it's more of it's not even the moral high ground. They think as long as they have an authority above them telling them that it's okay. It's not even moral. It's a legal authority. They have a legal right, is what in their viewpoint, that
Absolutely.
they can do this. Like TSA, these TSA agents, they feel I've been told I can do this, therefore I can do it. No matter if, since I was a little kid, I was told not to touch other people. It's okay now because some guy in another badge has told me I can do this at whatever level, and it's self-replicating. It compounds itself. It gets worse and worse.
And a lot of them do it regardless whether it's right or wrong. They're just, I was told to do this, that's why I did it. Go talk to him. So they're literally washing their hands of all responsibility of what they did, even
Right.
though it was wrong and against the Constitution.
And unmoral.
Absolutely.
And that's the question I've asked before too. Is that when are the good cops, the good FBI agents, the good military personnel actually going to stand up and do what's right, instead of when they see corruption and criminality going on within the system, and they don't report it? Because in my opinion, when they don't report criminality and unjustness, they're criminals or complacent, in my opinion. You know what I mean? At some point, when you go along with so much of that, you're a criminal too, right?
Well, it is regardless, and I'm sure HTP will back this up. There are people out there that'll do what they're told, no matter how heinous it is. They'll do what they're told because they're compartmentalized, and this is my boss, and this is where I'm at, and this is what I do. So if I'm told to do it, I'll do it. Yeah, it was bad, but they're just so in there so deep.
And
I mean, I've seen some young
that's
recruits. I've seen some young recruits that, after 4 or 5 months of being locked into it, they'd jump off a building and land on their head if somebody told them to do it.
yeah, and it's getting worse though. I mean, like back in the day, like they would set that example, like you'd do something stupid and they'd be like, see, you just don't do what you're told, you learn how to think. There was that line They don't do that anymore. And with all the political correctness being infused into everything, where now everybody's a special little flower and they get their own little lane, and those people are even more dangerous
You
because now
you
they feel like they have some power
you,
that they didn't
you
have
can wear
before.
you can wear
Absolutely.
purple high heels instead of red. You know what
Yeah,
I'm talking about, right?
it's getting
They made
bad.
them wear high heels.
It's going so fast. It's not even. It's faster than I thought it would, and that's one of the reasons I got out. Um, because you see it coming, and in the Marines you're kind of insulated because you still do have a certain kind of culture, but it is getting ramped up very fast. And really, the Marines, Special Forces, those type of special units, they're the Praetorian Guard. They're going to get if they
Well,
stay in the last line and protect what's left, they're going to get executed in a lot of respects, just like the Praetorian Guard did.
the special
They're going to get outnumbered.
forces, the special forces of our country over the last 12 years have been decimated, overworked, exhausted, you know, treated badly, you name it.
Oh yeah,
They're overextended. There's too few of them. You
Well, I'm gonna
know,
give you some. I'm gonna give you some encouragement, a little encouraging words here, gentlemen. The Special Forces community that is retired out of the military is way bigger than the Special Forces community that's in the military, and they're smarter. They might not have the equipment, but they're smarter because they trained these guys. They made them who they are, and they swore an oath to the Constitution and they meant it. I mean, these guys when they dedicated to something, you'll see tears run down their face to get it done. So you really don't have to worry about the ones on the outside. The only ones I think you really have to worry about is this small community that's on the inside that
well,
are, and I hate to use the word brainwashed. I get programmed, whatever, to do. They don't believe it. They know it's not right. Everybody knows there are a lot of people in there that are awake.
I know
yeah.
what you're saying, Saints, but
Those small communities. I was just going to say I don't think we have to worry about special forces. I don't think we have to worry about a large degree of the Marine Corps because they still have that honor culture. Like I was
Absolutely.
saying, I think they're going to go the way of they're going to go the way of the Praetorian Guard. They're going to stand
we,
on their honor and either withdraw themselves if there's a collapse or if
we,
there's an opposition force or something goes on in America, and they're going to get drone striked or something. They're basically going to be taken care
right.
of.
Well, and they're already that's what I was trying to point out is the fact that they're attacking the special forces, like you said, the Marines and the guys that have been in there the longest, the purging of the old military brass and shit. They're going after them because they know that. You know what I mean? They're overworking them. They're destroying those organizations from within, just like they are our country, right?
Well, they've changed so much of them's mission too. A lot of them's mission where it's gone from real peacekeeping to just search and destroy or tyranny. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no
the
point to it.
motto
It's
of the
just a continuous mission for no reason.
right. Well, the motto of special forces is "De oppresso labere," liberators of the oppressed. I
Yeah.
mean, why would you oppress people if you're supposed to be a liberator of the oppressed?
Right. And that's what we get down to right there. The fact that America's been turned upside down fundamentally in its morals. Where you got the government. Oh, it's okay to torture. What was that article we were talking about, Saints? That we came across. There's a lady tortured. I'm sorry, not tortured. She waterboarded her child because it was unruly.
Right.
Because the government said that it was not torture.
Well, y'all heard what Donald Trump said. He believes in waterboarding and a whole lot more.
Right.
And he said some words right out of his mouth.
Another tyrant. Or political
Yeah.
pandering.
Well, for
Yeah.
us to think we're the only country that doesn't do that's insane. We're probably the mildest country that does that. Maybe England.
Well, I think we used to be. I don't know about it anymore. And now they're starting to do it to Americans.
I think we treat Americans worse than we treat foreign
Yeah,
captors.
exactly. Yeah, 6 million people approaching in prison systems who are put there, and actually they're given a number, and that number is actually fucking traded, and has assigned a monetary value, meaning that they're paid to keep prisoners in there. People don't realize that that's why they keep the drugs illegal, people. So they keep
They already did that. They documented. They traded Bo Burgle,
right.
a deserter, for 3 or 4 or 5 key leaders, of the Islamic jihad movement there. So didn't seem like a good trade to me. I don't know. It's just me.
I mean, shit, there's no reason we need to fucking fund a prison system, right? These guys can fucking, like, make enough money manufacturing shit to pay for their incarceration, can't they?
Right.
I mean, can't we fucking, like, at least do that much with them? If we're gonna have a fucking prison population like we do, can't we at least fucking actually turn a profit with it? Not just profit going to the fucking corporation that runs it, paid by tax dollars?
Right. Subsidized by tax dollars, so the corporation that runs it still makes more money.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, like, why can't it fucking, why can't it turn a profit and those profits go to the fucking victims' families or something, Like, what the fuck is going on here?
Well,
It doesn't make sense. Like, we have a fucking slave population, and, like, okay, not the ones that are in there for drugs, but the rest of them, fuck it, make them slaves.
Well, there's some nefarious stuff going on in Washington right now with all this questioning and arresting people and this, that, and the other. It's getting a squeeze. You'll see more now that they've got that other judge out there. You'll see more stuff come down, and it may end up that the populace does. I mean, Grandma and Grandpa may sharp their broomsticks and head out the front door.
Yeah, when their livelihoods are taken, something that these are baby boomers we're talking about who were guaranteed and promised all these things. When they finally wake up, or when they finally take action and realize that they have nothing left.
Oh god, and baby boomers think they're like all that too. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, we're a fucking great generation. We fucking built this country. We bought Cadillac and Chevrolet and fucking, built our suburbs. Oh, fuck you, guys. You're the one fucking bankrupting us, dude. You're the guys. You're the fuckers that...
Their parents made that stuff. They just lived off of it.
Oh,
Baby boomers didn't make that stuff. The baby boomers lived off of it. But yeah, you're right. You tell a baby boomer that. I mean, I continually remind them, and you see my parents are in that generation. It's like, if you get your Social Security, we're not getting anything.
Yeah. They had their whole fucking lives to, like, maybe make Social Security fucking solvent. Nope, can't fucking fix that shit. And
a lot of they were living that sheltered life,
tail end of the baby
nice
boomers that feel it more than the beginning. But anyway.
Yeah.
I hate to see this thing fail, though. I really do, because I don't want to see it looking like the Middle East with burnt out cities, or post World War II Europe. It's just it's too far down.
And that goes to the question and that's kind of the comment of the chat. Do we allow it to fail and go that direction, like you're saying, burn out cities, and what would come about as a result of that, or do we support the failure which we're currently in, where we don't have liberty, we don't have, freedom to our own property? Do we continue to support that failure of America? America's failed its own promise. Which way do we go? That's
right.
kind of the point.
At what point do we acknowledge the dream's gone? The American dream at this point does not exist. You cannot get a 9-to-5 job, work 5 days a week, support your family, and save for when you're old. There's no way in hell you can do that anymore.
Well, it's not even that. You don't even have the freedom
to do that.
You don't even have the right to your property. It's stolen from you through taxes and inflation.
Yeah.
I mean, just that little bit,
Pay rent on something that you bought, yeah.
Well, you've got to do something to protect yourself against this cashless coming up. If you plan on doing, anything outside because there is going to be a rather large percentage of people that have nothing to barter. They know very little about barter. They live off a credit card now. So literally everything they do and everywhere their whole life will be documented by the money they spend.
Well, people don't understand too that there's a reason why they want to put.
And like we were saying, I think that's the real fear is what we don't know. What happens in a failed America? Is it burnout cities, or is it just the government fails and we reorganize into 4 or 5 different types of countries and republics? With some maybe going to Canada, or some joining different parts of Canada, and maybe Arizona goes back to Mexico or something with 420, and he becomes their new presidente, or whatever. It's
But
that's the fear of the unknown is what really keeps people, I think, supporting our current failure. Really, I think we said that already.
But yet they ignore all the external threats like we've been going over here. They ignore the fact that these other nations, the things that we've done over the years and the things that we're doing now as a NATO member, they're not going to let that slide. As we're knocking on their door with tyranny, they're going to knock on our door. Speaking of Russia and China.
Yeah, there's stuff they want. I mean, we know that. And right now they're making. It sounds like, I mean, from everything we've seen and the way the things look, it's like land in the West is being promised to foreign corporations so they can exploit it. I mean, you can't. I mean, I can't see it any other way. What's going on
Nope.
with the things out here in the West and the land grab? And instead of the failure and the collapse, they're just trading off the resources to get a little temporary peace.
Oh man, and like out here, it's
freedom.
totally fucked. Right? So like, there's been this situation like near an Apache Indian reservation out here, where they're going to put an underground mine in. I don't know, probably some foreign interest owns the mining rights out there or some shit, or is getting them from the government in exchange for a bunch of other land all around Arizona. So the Native Americans come in to stop it and say, no, you're not going to mine out this area. It has, it was never like really our land, but it has cultural value because a bunch of people died here. And then so the fucking federal government comes back and says, all right, we're going to fucking make this whole area like a protected monument that nobody's going to fucking be able to go on to for the foreseeable future. And they're just taking the land that way,
Well, they claim it under the UN Land Resource Act.
What if they want to? They'll do it just like they did that refuge out there where the Bundys and all and Laveau and all were. They'll just permanently close it because that one now is labeled permanently closed. So there'll be nobody going out there. They'll dig the roads up and pull up all the driveway pipes. You go in, you'll either go in by foot or, when you do, you're trespassing. I think that's part of what Laveau was talking about anyway. Putting up roadblocks, concrete barriers and stuff, stopping, closing roads, keeping traffic out. I mean, they're closing it down. It's funneling people into cities, as I think's what it looks like they're doing now.
Yeah, and they've been doing it for years.
Absolutely.
One of the protests back in the '80s when I did the grass march last year with the gentleman out of Elko, and they were talking about grazing rights and the right to graze and stuff, and they were back. I think maybe it was the early '90s where they told the Forest Service, we're opening this road, and they opened up the road. And I didn't realize that story until after I'd met him and everything. I would really like to talk to him about that event. But they went out there with their equipment and they pulled the boulder. The people. And so it's been going on for years out here. Small stories you don't realize. They never get publicized. And that's what makes people, people don't realize how much support there is with that train of thought, because you don't hear those publicized stories to gain the popular, outcry. And that's again why did they shut up Lavoie? Well, because the message was getting out, that the message and truth is getting out that lands are being closed down for no good reason and against the law and against, against our own best interest, against our own survivability.
And look, here's evidence of the criminality right here in this file cabinet. We're going to go show you, but don't look at that.
Right.
But
So
we're protecting the environment, HDP. These cows are destroying, overgrazing.
the turtle, they're
The
destroying the turtle. We want to get it
turtles, the
right.
fucking quail, the whatever, the sagebrush grouse or whatever the fuck is up there by you that they're making
Wild
a big deal
juniper
about.
flowers.
Oh yeah, man, those
It,
juniper berries. Fucking where the fuck would juniper trees come from if we let cows
it,
graze? But in the meantime, I can show you down here on Google Maps, 3,000 acres of privately owned grazing land right next to 3,000 acres of fucking state land that's grazed on. And guess what one's better fucking land and has more wildlife on it?
Well, I'll give you something that
Right.
is a fact. For the most part, the media is not on the public side, and if they attempt to make a move toward the public side, they get attacked and demonized, and a lot of times shut down. So you'll not get anything pro-public or pro-constitution off hardly any of the mainstream media or the television.
Well, and then that gets
yeah,
back into what we were talking about earlier. Uh, let America fall. Well, even if we try to stop it from failing, look at the example in Oregon, the constitutional sheriffs that are standing up that now the DOJ is investigating. Okay, the political enemies of the that were taxed, the businesses that were taxed out of business because they were conservative or Tea Party or birthers. Okay, by the IRS under the Obama administration. Dude, this administration is in my opinion the most tyrannical administration we've had in a very very long time.
Buddy, they loaded the deck with crooks. I guarantee you on that. And they got people in their pocket, and they won't talk. I mean, they can't force them to talk.
Do you guys? I know you guys, gentlemen, do, but I hope everybody in the chat realizes just us having the balls to stand up here live on this chat, on this soapbox, and speak these things. We're committing sedition. Sedition. Okay? Do you guys understand the relevance of that? I hope you do, because I do. Okay? We're putting our lives, in our hearts, in our minds, in the ability to express ourselves freely as free men. And our government, the current administration, and these so-called intellectual fuckwits are telling us that we're criminals because of that. Why are we... Dude, we're living
yeah,
in the Twilight Zone. Fucking shit you not.
yeah. Real quick, I wanted to reference. There's a video from a gentleman named Charlie. I can't remember his last name. He made a speech at the Mesquite Town Hall or the Bunkerville Town Hall, wherever they had that town hall meeting before. It was before that Saturday, and he got up before the community meeting there, and he warned everybody. He told everybody pretty much what Lavoie's been saying and everything else. He's like, they're saying it's about the tortoise here, but they're going to come across into Utah and it's going to be about the Indian paintbrush, and they're going to go up into northern Nevada and it's going to be about the sage grouse, and they're going to go here, and they're going to take away your grazing rights, they're going to take away your water. And he lays it all out. And it was excellent. I'll put a link to it in the chat when this is done downloading or whatever in the comments. Everybody should watch it again if you don't remember seeing it. But he was spot on. He's still right. I got to meet him when he came up here to Carson City again last year for the assembly bill that they were sponsoring. But it's straight up. They're going to find a reason to get the property, get the resources. They're going to find an excuse. But with that, gentlemen, I know it's getting late. Thanks for hanging in there with me. Was hoping some people come in and support, but I guess Bullets and some other guys didn't want to come in and chat with us. So I think we covered a lot of territory. We kind of addressed the issue and the question, which is good, what I really want to get across. About the letting America fail question. So thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. It's a good chat. It was a very good chat, actually. Surprise chat.
Real quick, we had Stuart Design 101 join us. Partisan Grill is still out there. I got 19 still in the chat. 20. So real quick, we'll go down the line, do some shout-outs. Justin, if you want to start us, 420.
Yeah, what up? I'm 420.
Okay, that's all you get.
That's all I
That's
got.
an easy one for you, huh?
Oh, everybody!
All right.
Actually, no. Actually, let me do a shout out. Everybody, go check out Adam Kokesh's YouTube channel and follow his homestead. He's doing a homestead up in northern Arizona that I'm actually pretty interested in. So that's my shout out.
All right on.
Do that.
Okay, Kazar, you're next in line on my side.
All right, man. I appreciate the invite, dude. I enjoyed myself. Thank you for the soapbox to be able to express my frustrations, just like you guys. 420, good chatting with you, man. Saints, always good chatting with you. The conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the public is an important element in democratic society. Those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government, which is the true ruling power of our country. Edward Bernays said that, folks. Go read some Edward Bernays. Might be able to put some puzzle pieces together for you. Good night.
Hey, thanks, Quasar. Have a good one. Saints, what you got?
I appreciate the invite, HDP. It's always a pleasure. You gentlemen are all wide awake, know what's going on. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to all the 3%ers out there. People dig in. It's you know something's, you know a storm's coming. Put some tape on the glass. So and shout out to the Dragon, everybody in the chats. I appreciate the invite. I learn something every time I come out.
All right, yeah, with that, from the chat, hopefully you got some good comments. Share with your friends if you feel so inclined to have them interested in the conversation. But get out there, spread the word, live free.